No race, no problem. Have you struggled with getting out the door or staying motivated to train when you don't have a race on the calendar? Do you struggle with conquering run life balance? Do you want to end the start stop cycle of running? How to be a consistent runner without training for a race is what we are talking about today. Welcome to episode 207 on the Healthy Runner podcast, where we help you get stronger, run faster, and enjoy lifelong injury-free running. And I have Coach LaToya Felton from our Healthy Runner coaching team with me here today. What's going on, Coach? How you doing today?
I am thrilled to be here. You know, I like to hang out and do these things with you. So, hi guys. Hope everybody gets a little something out of this. I know it's good for me. So, I love to have these podcasts because it reinforces for me whatever we talk about because we're all in the same pool. We're all runners. We're all getting making things happen.
Yeah, and at the time of this recording, I think this is going to be like very relevant for most runners right now. This is usually the time of the year where it's kind of the quote unquote off season, or a lot of people just finish like their goal fall races. Except if you are like me, I am wearing my Run Disney apparel from 2020, and I'm getting ready to head down to Disney in 2 weeks to do the Dopey Challenge. But if
Awesome.
you're not running Disney or you're not running Houston, most likely you're in kind of this off-season time period. So I think this is going to be very relevant at the time of this recording. And we'll also talk about like who this information will be best utilized for. But for those that don't know who Coach LaToya is and you are new to our podcast, LaToya is a mom of two, and she knows what it means to be a busy mom. So whether it was like coaching cheerleading or working as a sales rep, being an active community volunteer, or getting in her fitness. Actually, last night, she's texted me again of another board meeting that she was at. In 2018, LaToya saw a need for helping people that were intimidated by running and organized local run walk sessions to expose the community to the joys of running. And she just enjoys helping runners make their running dreams a reality when they really didn't think they could be quote unquote runners. And I just love what she does from like a local community level. She is our Spark Healthy Runner community ambassador and runs our group training programs. And she's just amazing at that. But she is also a RRCA certified run coach. She is a NASM certified personal trainer and a weight loss specialist. So, Coach LaToya, if you don't mind, kind of catching us up, what have you been up to recently? What's going on in your world, your life, your running life, whatever you want to share with us?
Crazy that since 2018, I've documented that I've been busy and always doing things. It's totally been before that, but it hasn't stopped. I'm still busy. When am I going to take a break and relax? Probably never. No, that's how life happens and memories and things happen. So what have I been doing? Definitely not training for a dopey marathon or Houston. Nope, I am done with that. I had my key race, my big race, my target race for me was the Hogsback Half Marathon in Colebrook. It was a wet, rainy, kind of humid, kind of cold day, but I trained hard. I raced well, and that was in the bag. And then I moved on to some turkey trots and some fun little things here and there. And I had the pleasure of running with you and your daughter in Hamden at the local turkey trot over there. And I actually had a surprise visit, spontaneous, serendipitous event. Coach Kat and I ran a 5K race at the same race together, another turkey trot in our hometown, Wallingford. So that was cool. Yeah.
Nice. And yeah, I know. I love that some local runners got to meet you and they've seen you like either on the podcast, YouTube channel, or the Facebook group. And you got to meet them. And I love seeing those pictures. And yeah, it was always great going out there in a turkey costume on Thanksgiving morning,
Yeah.
running a 5K. That's kind of
Joking.
tradition now.
It was him, not me in the turkey costume, guys, just so we're clear.
Oh man, always fun, always good times. And yeah, I guess I should mention for those who are actually watching the YouTube version of this, I will share with you our Spark Healthy Runner holiday card. It says Happy Holidays from our team. And then you will notice on the back side, we have a save the date announcement for enrolling soon our half marathon group coaching for those that are looking to do a spring half marathon with Coach LaToya. That drop date, by the way, is going to be January 17th. So if you are looking for to do a conquer a half marathon this spring, whether or not you're looking to get faster, you're looking to run your first half marathon, and you're really not, don't want all the bells and whistles of our signature one-on-one healthy runner coaching program, and you want something that's a little more group coaching focused, then this would be the program for you. Or you just want to kind of dip your toe in the water and say, hey, what is this coaching team all about? I'm not ready to fully invest in like the one-on-one program. This is a nice way for you to be able to get a structured half marathon training program, as well as strength training exercises for runners, that is all kind of structured out for you in a progressive fashion to help you in your half marathon journey. So we do a twice a year launch now for this group training program, and that will be opening January 17th. I mean, it's only going to be open for a week. So you got to get in. I just told you about it way in advance. So all of you should be opening your phone right now, going in your calendar, putting a little reminder saying, check learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com on January 17th to check out the group half marathon training program. All right. And yeah, Merry Christmas to everyone. This is our last official podcast episode that we're recording before the end of the year. So I will wish everyone a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate, and honestly, a happy new year. It's like always, I always get reflective at the end of the year. And I will even in these next couple of days as we start to shut things down. I'm kind of had my last calls actually today. So at the time of this recording is December 19th. And I kind of feel good about that, honestly, that those are done. And now I have a couple more clients to onboard and get them going before the end of the year in our program. But then once that's done, I'm going to just like reflect on this past year of 2023. And then it's like new beginnings, right? 2024. And, thinking about where we're going to go in life, but then, relevant to this podcast, running. And I think today's topic really kind of fits into that because a lot of people right now might be in somewhat of limbo. So whether or not it is the holidays, the new year, colder weather, winter running, we've done like an episode on, tips for winter running, but this is the time of the year that many people I know struggle with getting consistent or getting like the motivation to be able to run, or they have the mindset of like, I'm taking a break from running. I'm not going to run, for the next couple of months. And then I'm going to go back into that. So I know that's something that I hear a lot. Is that something that you hear from many runners, LaToya?
I hear that from runners who are totally training hard for races. The calendar's complete, the year's end, we're done. Now what do I do with my life? What do I do? Do I stop and do nothing? No, of course I don't. I hear that, or I hear like, I wish I could just stay consistent so I don't have to struggle when I finally do decide to put a race on the calendar. I hear that a lot, a lot. And that it's such a balance that we have to ebb and flow and dance. And I think this podcast is going to help a lot of people realize that you can have your cake and eat it too. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to take the whole Netflix and chill thing too seriously. And you can just exist. I mean, really, this is a have your cake and eat it too kind of moment. And we don't have too many of those. So that's really what I think this podcast is going to help people see.
Right. And when we were having this conversation on kind of a little brainstorming of, what would be good to share with our audience, as we kind of finish up the year, as we head into the new year. And, I love what you said about like just people struggling with motivation at this time, or like the run life balance and like put in perspective. So those are really the things that we're going to be sharing with you today. Is Coach LaToya is going to share like 5 tips to keep you motivated, even if you don't have a race, and honestly, reframe running in a new light so it's not stressful for you, and it's keeping you in a healthy mindset year round so you don't get burned out. And the things that we're going to talk about today, like who would benefit from today's chat, would you say? Like who's like the ideal person that if they've just tuned in right now, they're like, I wonder if this is for me, or like who's going to benefit from this talk?
There's so many people that are going to benefit this. The first people that come to my mind are real life people, runners, moms, dads, caregivers, not the elites or not the one day I'm going to start running, but the runners who are actually working and having doctor's appointments, kids get sick, work gets crazy, holiday shopping, holiday parties, cold weather. How do you know what? I'll just Netflix and chill. No, you don't have to Netflix and chill. You can actually make that work. And I think the people that are doing so many busy things sometimes put that to the wayside and they'll just figure it out later because life is happening. And again, there's my analogy. I'm going to have some cake after we're done with this. I haven't had cake in a long time. Chocolate cake. Yeah, chocolate
There you
cake.
go.
You can
My
have
daughter
your
just
cake
made
and eat
some
it too.
apple, like mini little
Ooh,
apple, dairy free as well. Little mini apple, like little pies. I'm
I
like,
can
oh, they were amazing. I already had two of them.
one for me and one for you, Dwayne. That was really sweet
Yes.
of you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so real people
Yeah.
essentially, like us recreational runners who are
Yeah.
balancing work, life, kids, stress, right? Like this is going to be helpful. How about, in our, let's say, yearly cycle, if someone does races?
This is totally for the runner who is trained hard, had their goal race, just like I had my goal race, and the race day is over. There's no goal, race day goal in sight. What do I do? What do I do? Do I consistently train the way I was training beforehand so I can always be ready for the next race to come? Or do I just take a break completely? This is definitely for that post race training season runner who knows that it's important to cycle through your running, or maybe people don't know that. It is so important to have, just like we have 4 seasons, we have to have things change, die back. The fall leaves fall on the back. The winter, we get a little cold and retracted. We'll bring our running that way. Spring happens, warmer outside, things start to bloom. We pop up and we go. And, using the spring season, the analogies, the summer, everything's blooming, everything's popping. It's beautiful. You can't wait to be outside and feel the sun on you. Unless you're a couple of us like Coach Cat. She doesn't want to have that sun flowing on her. She wants the cold winter. But back to my comment that we have race cycles and it's for everybody. We have to realize we have to periodize ourselves to stay healthy. Speed it up, dial it back, whatever works at whatever season you're in on the calendar, but we have to do that. So I think everyone, especially those post race accomplishers, need to just simmer down. We don't have to give it all up, but we don't have to go hard and heavy. Not the whole time.
I Yeah, I love that you mentioned like the seasons of running. And we had talked about this in a previous episode in terms of looking at running in like training cycles. So if you guys want to hear a little bit more about that, episode 50 on the Healthy Runner podcast, you can check out that training about really viewing it in periodization, as Coach LaToya was talking about. And that's really helpful to honestly keep us healthy just from a physical standpoint, but then also a mental standpoint. So you have like a different focus. And if you break it, it's kind of like easy if you break it in like 16-week training blocks, right? Or thinking like 4-month increments, right? There's 4 of those throughout the year. So you're really thinking about, or 3 of those throughout the year. So really thinking about what's my focus during this like 16-week training block. And is it a matter of like focusing on what we call like doubling down on base training? And we did a whole episode on that. If you want to check out that episode 168 on the Healthy Runner podcast on like what is base training and how do we get stronger and how do we like build or like raise the floor as opposed to always focusing on trying to like raise the ceiling and just try to get faster. But how do we raise the floor where our baseline is actually at a higher point? And if you're looking to kind of improve from a performance aspect in your running journey or kind of get that new running goal, we talked a lot about kind of raising the floor essentially. So those two resources would be helpful. I also think of the runner, and this is kind of my specialty as a running physical therapist and coach, and the runners that I really help is one's overcoming injury. And whether or not you're rehabbing and you're going to PT, or you've just been discharged from PT and now you're getting back into running. And I should also actually mention our Return to Run blueprint. If that is you and you're getting back into running, we have a whole downloadable PDF on how to actually do that in a progressive fashion, have different phases. So I will definitely link that in the show notes as well if that is you. But I think the tips that you're going to share today are going to be really helpful for that runner who's recovering from an injury, as well as, like you said, someone who just finished their goal race, or it's been weeks, right? Maybe they ran a marathon and they did a nice like 2 to 4 week marathon recovery. Like, I just think about all my athletes who ran marathons. I just really met with them pretty much this week, as like we did 2 weeks of full minimum. If you guys heard my post marathon episode, of like 10 days no running at all minimum, some had 2 weeks of no running, and then we did a gradual back into running plan for a couple weeks, and then we meet for our deep dive call. And if you're in that kind of scenario, right, that's you now, you've finally gotten back into running, you're starting to feel like your legs are like, hey, like I feel like my normal self again. I don't feel like, either burned out or how you did right before the race, or, those first couple of runs after the marathon. I think this would be super helpful. And then the other runner that I know you had mentioned, LaToya, is that runner who has no interest in racing, right? They would probably benefit from the tips that you're going to share.
This is what what I'm gonna talk about. You had said the runners post race, they're done with their recovery. They're getting itchy to get back into that run, and they want to go at it. No, they're not going to go full force, but there are some people that are never get that itch to get back onto the race scene, or even join the race scene. And that's totally okay. They just want to go out there, get their mind clear, move their body, feel the fresh air, feel the miles on their body, and never put their toes on the start line. And that's totally great, because they need to have a plan, if you will, to do that smart, so they can continue to do that, because there's no change in season. They'll have to shift their training a little differently, but these tips and thought processes will absolutely help the runner who never wants to show up to race day. Absolutely.
Yeah, and by the way, I will give it a little shout out to those runners, because I
Yep.
just had a phone call with someone, and a lot of times, if you are a runner that you just don't have any desire to race, like, that's totally okay and normal. And I always get the question, do you work with runners that don't have a race? Do I need a race to like learn the strategies of like how to get stronger as a runner, and learn about strength training for runners that we do in our program, or want to just be challenged with different types of runs, or learn how to like properly progress and structure it, and you want to take away the guesswork, you don't want to have to like research it yourself because you have like busy life, work, kids, and you don't want to have to like research on how to be a run coach, and so you can do it like consistently. And I get that question all the time, and I'm like, yeah, no, absolutely. They're like, I would say literally a quarter of the athletes in our program are not actively training for a specific race. And that's, I think, we really pride ourselves on that aspect of like, we want lifelong injury free runners and want you to enjoy that for running, that we don't just like pitch, okay, we're just going to train you for a half marathon. We're just going to like coach you for a marathon, and you're going to get said goal. Those that do want to do those races, yes, they will get those goals, but they're also going to embrace lifelong injury free running in the process of working with our team. So yeah, I that's I guess a common misconception I see a lot, is that if you're listening to this and you just enjoy getting out there, I love that. I like, running gives you the mental benefits, stress relief. We hear a lot. Like, I definitely, my run this morning was literally in silence, It was mental clearing miles, and it felt absolutely amazing as I embraced nature and I felt the sun on my face. Even though it was cold, it was great to be outside in nature and just looking at the trees that literally lost every last little leaf that was on them because we had this huge, crazy wind rain event in Connecticut yesterday that I lost power for 10 hours, which was really weird in December because super, super rare. But I was outside like enjoying nature. And I know a lot of you guys love to do that as well. So, yeah, shout out to you guys. And I think you would definitely benefit from Coach LaToya's 5 tips. So, shall we get to these tips?
Let's start it up. Let's do it, guys.
All right, here we go. Tip number 1 to keep you motivated, even if you don't have a race on your calendar or you have no interest in doing a race ever. What's tip number 1?
Well, we got to start with a strategy. We're playing chess. We're eating cake and playing chess. We got to start with a game plan. We have to have this mind in the right place so we can start off realistically. No matter what we're doing, we have to have a plan. We're going to go to the grocery store. We know how we're going to get there. We're going to go take care of 3 errands. We plan out which store we're going to go to first, where we're going to go. We're going to have a strategy with our running. And that includes sitting down and saying, what am I willing to do? I'm willing to run 3 days a week. I'm willing to run 4 days a week. I can lift this many days a week. I can realistically put this out there so it doesn't have to be painful. And when we try and force it all in with our crazy busy lives, people are pulling at us in so many different ways. I know a lot of the times my calendar is not dictated by this chick right here. It's not. It's dictated by other things in my life, my kids, my work schedule. Uh, that is a big factor. So I'm going to put those things on the calendar, and then I'm going to make my running fit around it so it's not stressful. And once I have that in place, I can move forward thinking, yeah, this looks doable. I think I can do that. I literally pull out my calendar and I think, how many days am I getting my runs in and what days are there? And it sounds so, I don't want to say boring, but it sounds so stress relieving to know that I'm going to have 3 days, 4 days of me planning because I have a strategy in place that's going to take me from Monday through Friday, or you map it out for a month from now. But it's so important to have a strategy so we can get our mind right and then I get our calendar right and have our lives connect together.
Nice. I love this. You went like right to the mindset bucket in our 6 steps to growing as a runner is really developing that strategy, having the right mindset, setting realistic goals for where you are at currently with your life circumstances and putting a focus, right, to the training. So it's like, okay, right now, this is maybe your base training phase. And you're going to focus on the things that is going to make a stronger, faster runner in the future by doubling down on the strategies that are going to help me do that during this like base training phase and being realistic about what those goals look like. And I think this probably segues nicely into your second tip, right? In talking about kind of how fast should we be running if we don't have a race that we're training for.
So intensity is so important in real life. We can't go running through life just not stopping to smell the roses. We've got to take a breath, calm down. We're not going to last. We're going to get stressed out. We're going to snap. We're going to say things we didn't mean to say. I'm not talking personally here. I've always worked with the proper intensity and never been handling too many things at once. Never. Totally life reality right there. Intensity is important. And if I run with the right intensity, I know that I don't have to play that, again, mental game. Was I running too fast? Was I running too slow? No, this is where I'm supposed to be running right now at this point, this season in my training. I don't have to squeeze in 2 tempo runs or a long tempo and a short speed session. I have to run consistently over whatever set amount of days and timeline, hours, minutes, miles, whatever it is we're working with here, do it at the proper speed so I can recover enough, run at the right intensity, handle my life with the right intensity so I can show up the next time I run to do it and do it well. And it's all about making that shift. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. Some of these runs could be shorter, some of them could be longer. Just because they're short doesn't mean they have to be all out fast. Get it in there and get it off. No, it's definitely about getting the right intensity for where you are with what you're doing. And that's typically, almost always, never going to be hard, fast, hot, painful, and sweaty, panting. It shouldn't be like that. That's not what you want to look forward to coming back to. So if we maintain intensity in our running, we maintain intensity of our life, and we don't schedule a run on the same day we've got to take the kids to the dentist. We've got to pick up that grocery order at 6. Oh my gosh, I forgot to bake the cupcakes for whatever party. That's not the day to squeeze in a short run. I'll just run really fast. Nope. Too much intensity going on that day. Back it off and we'll move something around so life can happen.
Yeah, so making sure that the running is balanced, right? For again, our intended goals that we talked about with tip number 1, and really embracing the easy run when we talk about like different types of runs, and making sure that we are keeping it easy. And it doesn't mean if you are someone who is experienced at doing faster running, you may have one day a week where you are doing strides during your run, or you might, do some threshold or tempo pace miles. But the intensity, I think, of what you're talking about is appropriate for this season of running, and not having a specific race that you're shooting for. And there's not as much stress there. So your expectations and your focus shouldn't definitely not be on pace, right? And, for the majority of runners listening to this, even when they're training for a race, you should not be like, focused and perseverating on how fast you're running and your pace to begin with. But this time of the year, without a race on the calendar, you definitely shouldn't be focused on that. And just getting out the door and getting the run in is going to give you those physiologic benefits for your cardiovascular system. It's going to help your musculoskeletal system adapt to the demands of running. You're still strengthening those tendons, those muscles, and they're going to be able to tolerate more stress and strain when you really increase the intensity of your running. So I love that you kind of brought up almost like the running bucket in our 6 steps to growing as a runner, and making sure that the runs that we're doing, they are at the right intensity, and it's okay that you are quote unquote running slower. and and I think that, you're going to speak to this a little bit later in terms of how we are okay with that. But yeah, I think that's a great point that you bring up. All right, what's tip number 3?
Tip number 3 was, there's so many things I want to say, but I have so many tips. We're going to keep it consistent. We're going to keep it. I just want to keep going. We have strategy. We have intensity. We have my favorite in life, consistency. We have to be consistent. We have to show up all the time. Show up in whatever fashion you said you were going to show up. You're going to show up for an easy run Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Show up for Monday, Wednesday, Friday easy run. You give yourself that. It's if you set that strategy in the wrong spot, and maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday is too much for you, your consistency falls off. And we have to move to a new strategy. And it's easy to have the Netflix and chill slip in there. It's sort of that momentum we need to keep it going with whatever that looks like. Again, it doesn't mean we're running fast. We're just running consistently. We keep showing up with a plan in place. It makes it easier to do that.
Right. And that consistency is so important. Like literally consistency. And this is like, does not only apply to running, this applies to literally life, right? If you guys think about anything that you've accomplished in life, any hurdle that you've overcome, Like, what is the biggest reason you did overcome it? It was consistency, right? So whether it was like studying when you were in school, whether it was, getting a promotion at a job, it was like putting in the work, being consistent. And this is like probably the single most important thing we can do as runners is be consistent. And even if we don't have a race on the calendar, we need to find ways that we can become consistent, even if motivation is lacking, even if it's cold outside, even if, and we talked about that with our cold weather episode with Coach Whitney, in terms of getting in a treadmill workout. And yeah, I wonder, how are you guys liking Coach Kat's treadmill episodes and workouts? By the way, I was really excited to share that on the podcast and on the YouTube channel. It was definitely something different that we've never done before. Where literally, if you guys have not listened to it, episode 206 on the Healthy Runner podcast, and you can check it out on the Spark Healthy Runner YouTube channel, and watch the video version of Coach Kat literally coaching you through a treadmill run. And actually, you're going to be surprised if you haven't checked it out. You can actually have fun on the treadmill, and the time could fly by, because I myself have done the workout, and I am no treadmill runner by any means. And I remember doing this last winter, and we were in Boston for a volleyball tournament, and I had to literally run at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., and I didn't have time. Like, they were getting on the court at like 7 something. So it was like a real quick run. I didn't have time to map out the area, and I needed to hop on the treadmill and do the run. And I did Coach Cat's 30-minute run, and it was like, had so much fun with it. Time flew by. If you guys have listened to this episode, can you guys just do me a favor? Because I would love to hear your feedback in Apple Podcast. If you can just like add some comments in the write a review section and let us know if you've enjoyed that. Because, like, seriously, if you have enjoyed that episode, maybe we might do more workouts like that, where you can like follow along, like listen and be able to get your run in on the treadmill. But I would love to actually hear the feedback. Sorry, I digress. Totally like went down like rabbit hole, because we were talking about consistency. We were talking about winter, cold weather, maybe using a treadmill. And then my brain went to like, hey, we just like released this episode with Coach Cat. Sorry about that. But
It works.
consistency, so important. But what are some other like strategies if people struggle with consistency because they're not as motivated? They don't have like that specific date on the calendar, and they're counting back, and they're thinking week 1 of half marathon training, week 2, like they're motivated. So now there is no week 1, week 2. Like, what are some strategies that we can stay consistent?
I've got a couple, and here's one I like to do. I'm visual. I'm a visual learner. I'm kinesthetic. I want to touch it and hold it and kick the tires to it. What I like to do for my own self is I have a calendar, and it helps me with consistency if I can make the caterpillar or make the X's on the calendar, and I can visually see, all right, first week of December, I got 4 X's or 4 stars. Buy some fancy glitter stickers, whatever makes you happy, and put it on a calendar. I do simple X's, and I've got 4 X's. Week 1's down. Week 2, I'm not training for anything, but I have week 1 down. Week 2 in December, can I get another 3 runs in? Can I get 4 runs in? And I do. And I see at the end of the month, we're going to flip the calendar over in a little bit, and I'm going to have in my mind, on my body, all those consistent miles run, but visually, I'm like, I did that. That helps me stay consistent, and not in a gotta make an X on the calendar, gotta get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get my run in. No, it just knows that I am doing what I said I was going to do, which feels good and snowballs into so many other strategy, other segments of life. Showing up, keeping your word to yourself, it just really makes the whole day feel a little better when you can, yep, done. And I also revel absolutely in putting a circle. Monday was the 18th. I had a crazy day. I knew it was going to be a rest day. Proudly put a little circle on the calendar. That was my rest and recovery day. Everybody needs those. Embrace it. They're part of the plan. So that's my own personal little tidbit. Get a calendar, mark it up. I
So write it
also
down.
write it down.
Write it
Absolutely.
down.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you mentioned that, my brain totally went back to, I don't know if your kids when they were younger, if you ever did like sticker charts or
Oh, yeah.
like, oh
Yep.
my goodness, my wife would put up like a big like poster board on the wall, and she's gonna kill me for saying this, but like our younger daughter Gabby would do like the potty chart up there,
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
it'd be like, yeah, she went like pee pee in the potty,
Yep.
or and we had like stickers and like check marks, and we still like joke about that. And luckily, she will never ever listen to this episode because she'd be totally mortified and be giving me like the eye roll and all of
Teenagers.
that. Yes, the teenage, but she will be running her first ever race in Disney. She's doing the
So
5K
excited.
and she doesn't run. And she just said it before. She's like, how many miles do I have to run? She's like, 3. She's like, no. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, you're an athlete. Like,
Oh, she can handle
you
that.
run at volleyball. She's like, yeah, but we don't do laps. I'm like, so you guys will have to hear my Run Disney recap and hear if Gabby survived the 5K.
Gabby should do a little spotlight. She
I
should
know,
have a
right?
little recap for
Bring
her.
her on.
Oh, yes. The moment it changed her life, she's now an avid runner. Get out of the way, Dad. I'm the new CEO. I love this. Things can happen.
Hey, you never know, right? Yeah, freshman, high school, Gabby, volleyball player, and who knows, can become a runner. We'll see. We'll see if the magic happens. If there's going to be magic, Disney always brings the magic. The happiest place on earth, right? Most
Oh, it
magical
is.
place on earth, I think, is their new saying. Um, sorry. So getting back to consistency, writing it down, calendar, marking it off. What else?
How about, a magical time is when I can get together with like-minded, same pace, not even same paced running friends. I have a tribe, I have a family, I have a run group that I'm with, and I get out there with them. That helps me. You're gonna be there at 7:30 in the morning. It's 32 degrees out. Yep. Yep. I'm gonna be there at 7:30 in the morning, 32 degrees out. I said I'm gonna do it. It's magical. You feel warm. You feel like you want to be there. Maybe not the first mile or so, but you do. You get there and you're like happy to do that. That helps with the consistency. I have someone that I'm accountable for, and
Hmm.
it makes a big difference. You're not gonna flake out. Hopefully not at 7:30 in the morning and say, "Let's run at 9." No, you're gonna be the one that says, "Okay, I'll be there," and we'll both grind through those cold mornings, or vice versa. You are the friend that says, "Alright, you need somebody to run with at 5 at night? I'll run with you." And there's just something good about showing up and being with someone who said you were gonna be there. You gotta get the run in. You're gonna do it. So accountability makes a huge, huge difference. That really helps.
Yeah. So for those that don't have or who I've never explored, like there are a lot of local running groups like in your town. So, I always say like the best thing to do is go to your local running shoe store. They would know the local running groups. And, that's a good place to start out. Or, right, like find some other friends who run and say, hey, do you want to get together on whatever day and run together? I think that definitely helps and keeps you accountable because, like an appointment, right? You have it on the schedule. You're planning on meeting up with your friend at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7:30, whatever it is. You're not going to miss that appointment because like they're going to be disappointed if they got up early and they went and to meet up and you weren't there, right? You don't want to let your friend down like that. So I think that definitely helps. And even if someone's not even meeting in person, and it's a virtual friend, a runner
Just
friend of
check in.
yours, right? Yeah, a little check in, like shoot me a text, like, hey, I'm up. Like, you up? You ready to rock your run today? Right? I think that can help like keep someone motivated.
I will share with you that sometimes when we can't click our runs together with some of my friends, nothing like sending somebody that post-race selfie. I said I was gonna run. I know we didn't run together. I got the miles in. Click, it's there. And you can send that to someone. And that's another way of running without running with anybody. And some people need to run without anyone. And that's totally, I love that. Sometimes I need to just be me and the crinkle of the leaves under my feet, the wind, the chirping birds. I need that. So I still am more motivated to get out there and run by myself if I told you that I was going to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning and it's cold. That
Right.
post-race selfie or post that's not a race, it's post-run selfie, and I send it or just say, "I did it." It's accountability. And those are the friend you want to have that friend who says, "Hey, I didn't get that selfie. Where's your sweaty selfie?" "Oh, I blew it off." "You blew it off? What do you mean you blew it off? I was expecting a post-race selfie, post-run selfie." "Okay, well, they held your feet to the fire gracefully, gently, but you showed up the next time because you didn't want to have that text. So you don't have to run with anybody. It's still an option to help you with a consistency. It's just say, "Hey, I'm going for a run. Did you do it?" "Yep, I did it." And you're done.
I love it. I love it. So even if you're not together, there are ways that you can kind of hold yourselves accountable. Nice. Any other things? Any other tips for consistency? I think we covered probably
I think we
everything
have
I
a
can think
lot. I mean,
of.
I could find
Yeah.
lots more for consistency because we find excuses to not be consistent. So make it hard. Make it hard to get out of it. Lay your clothes out at night. We've all heard that. Lay your clothes out at night. Put I will go so far as to take the water bottle, short of being filled up, the goos, the sneakers, everything, and lay it all out. It's hard to
Hmm.
not run if I have everything laid out. That's what I
Right.
do. Sunday night, Tuesday night, I lay it all out. I'm consistent. I know that's part of my plan, a part of my routine. And when you don't do it, you're like, ugh, you hem and haw. All right, I'll put it out. Made it hard again. Definitely.
Yeah. I think I was looking behind me at the books, and I think in James Clear, Atomic Habits, he
Oh,
talks
good
about
book.
that, where
Great book.
breaking it into like portions, and like you said, if someone's having, struggling to get out the door to go for a run, then break it into pieces. What are the components that you need? Like lay out the clothes. You need clothes obviously to go out for your run. You need your shoes. Put your shoes near the door, right? Or make it easier. And then also I remember another tip there was like link it to something that's already a habit. So if you're going to brush your teeth every night, right, before you go to bed, then you're going to brush your teeth and you're going to get your running clothes and put them next to whatever in the bathroom. Right? Like we lay out our clothes like on the hamper in the bathroom. I have mine. My
Me
wife's is
too.
next to it. It's like, that's the spot, right? And we lay out the clothes, you get in the habit. So if you link it to another habit that you're already doing, it makes it easier to develop like the running habit and to kind of be consistent with those runs. So love that. Love those tips. Okay, so consistency is very, very important to keep us motivated. And I think the more that you do it and you are consistent, it almost feeds into like the cycle, right? It's like a never ending
Absolutely.
cycle. Get a little motivation, you get consistent. Then the more consistent you are, the more motivated you are to
Absolutely.
continue. All right. What other tips do you have? So that was like tip number 3. What's tip number 4?
What's tip number 4? What's tip number 4? Do I have to do what's tip number 4?
Well,
I was
strength.
waiting. I was waiting to see if we were going to do that 4 or 5. I'm like, what's tip number 4? I have strength next, but I don't know if I should say that. So, strength is absolutely foundational to race training. It's foundational to non-race training because it helps set you up for the bigger picture if you are going to get there. And strength training is something I actually look forward to doing on my non-race training. And I look forward to it because I can do different things. I can try things a little differently. I can lift heavier. I can be consistent with showing up and knowing that the building blocks, I've got my run, I've got my strength, I've got my run, I've got my strength, I've got a pattern, and I feel stronger with my easy running because I'm lifting. And I know that when I'm moving into my next training block, which will be training for base for a race, I'll already have the run muscles activated and strong so I can push during that training season to take me to whatever goal I'm looking for, race day I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, so you're talking about like embracing strength training, and it is the foundation for which honestly all running success is built upon because it helps keep us healthy and it also helps us from a performance aspect. So you're getting like, a little BOGO sale there, more bang for your buck, buy one, get one. And if you don't like strength training, if you've never done it before, like this is your challenge, embrace it, right? You like challenging yourself, most likely, if you are looking to grow in your running journey, right? So make this your challenge and double down and embrace either new strength training specific for runners or embrace lifting heavier during this part of your running season or embrace the challenge. Like for me, I'm just like you. I absolutely love, and honestly, after my Cape Cod marathon that I ran in the recovery, getting back into the gym because strength training did diminish and decline leading up to the marathon and tapering and all that. I loved getting back in the gym and working out, and like now I'm really in the phase. The last week, really, this is my peak week before Dopey challenge here. I'm going to the gym tomorrow. Got my gym clothes all laid out in my bag after my run, right? It's all planned out already. And I'm already on that kind of, okay, I'm going to really be doing more muscle activation strength training. I'm not going to be lifting heavy tomorrow in the gym. And I'm already starting to think after Dopey and I recover, then that's going to be my big, like, okay, this is the time of the year. I'm going to start loading up the weights again and I'm going to lift heavy and I'm going to really build up strength and resiliency. So, like, I'm looking forward to that challenge and like embracing it. So, again, the focus changes, right? It's not like, oh, okay, I'm marathon training, or hey, I'm running like the most running miles ever. And like for me right now, Dopey, it's kind of exciting. Like I've never done back to back double digit long runs before in my life. And, I did that last week. I'm going to do that again this week. So like that's exciting. But in a month from now, exciting is going to be embracing strength training and like, hey, I haven't like squatted this much weight since last winter. I haven't deadlifted, right? Like those are going to be the challenges. So I agree that like embracing strength training, or honestly, for other runners, if you think about our 6 steps to growing as a runner, and by the way, we also have like a free downloadable blueprint if you haven't seen that resource yet on all of the 6 steps to grow in your running journey. But other ones that come to my mind is recovery strategies. So whether it is you don't really know how to foam roll your run specific
Oh,
muscles,
it's a big deal.
you haven't, taken into account like mobility and flexibility as a runner, maybe this is the time of the year when you don't have a race on your calendar that you start to embrace those and take on those new challenges so you don't have to worry about them because you already know how to implement them. You've done it consistently and they're part of your routine when you're in race season training now. So maybe embracing some of those things, or the other things that Brooke, our registered dietitian, would say, like nutrition and fueling for your runs, and like focus on that now. So then when you have the quote unquote stress of doing your 12-mile long run for half marathon training or your 20-mile long run for marathon training, you're not wondering and guessing, what should I be taking with me to fuel? Because you actually did it when the stakes were low, and you can experiment with different products. You can experiment with different fueling strategies for your runs during your week. So maybe like embracing not only strength training, but recovery strategies, fueling strategies that are new to you or you haven't explored yet, that are going to definitely pay dividends for you when you get into like full race training.
I think that it's exciting for me when I'm trying new things, whether it's a new mobility routine or new yoga class or something. I don't have that looming in the back of my mind. I can't do this during training. I'm going to get hurt. Oh my gosh, my leg is going to fall off. I'm going to stretch it. I'm going to pull a muscle. I should have never gone to that trapeze yoga class. I'm like, yeah, bring on the trapeze yoga class. This checks the bucket for flexibility and mobility today, winning. So back to my consistency and the calendar, I go because I'm a little retentive. I'll the X for when I run, the W for when I weight lift when I lift. And all right, I had 2 lift sessions that week. I know it's okay if I lift once. Next week, it's okay. I only got 1 lift session, and as long as I think we don't have to have 3 run days, 1 long run, 2 or 3 lift sessions in the gym. We don't have to be crazy like that. We just have to be consistent. And strength doesn't have to be 2 hours in the gym. It doesn't have to be a big deal in terms of I have to go hard, have to go heavy. You just have to to do it because it pays off big time. And there's just something for me, again, seeing the W's lifted, 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 weight lifted that day, weight lifted that keep me moving. And when it comes to filling those other buckets, I am excited to go out for a run with a new flavor goo or gel. It's totally different during the this part of my season to go try that new flavor because I'm not even worrying about it causing a problem with my rest of my runs or anything. It's just very relieving to get all of those new strength, new exercises, lift differently, hit your squat a little differently during this time. It's kind of fun. It's a fun time for me, I think, with all of those options. Strength means so many different things and it encompasses a lot of different buckets. I like to play now. I feel a little more bold and brave when I'm not in a race season.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, I've definitely been there before. It's like, do no harm, right? Like before your race. And it's
Yes.
like, I don't want to try anything new. This is the time to explore and have fun with it, right? Like that's the beauty of this like season of running. And then yeah, what's the last and final tip here?
Well, I think it's to give yourself grace, to give yourself life. Life is happening, and we can turn this into lifelong running, healthy running. We can stay foundationally there if we just remember the big picture. And the big picture is we're here to stay healthy and strong. And if we get our mind right, we can get our body right. We can keep going and do that.
Yeah, and just really keep it in perspective, right? To what other things that are happening in your life. And if you think about a lot of times we sacrifice other things in our life, right? When we are in peak training for a race. And this is the time to dedicate to those loved ones, right? And if you are the primary caregiver for a parent, family member, you have kids, right? Like this is a time when they deserve your attention and you shouldn't feel guilty. Like you said, like just having grace with yourself and making sure that, you know, your expectations aren't, you need to be perfect during this like time period, right? You don't need to nail every run that you plan to do or structure it out or every single training session, like to give yourself that grace. I love that you mentioned that.
I have this people get FOMO. They have to train. They have to be at the party. They have to be in it hard and heavy. They have to go to every Saturday run club. They have to be there. And they're worried about Becky is training for and what Becky is doing. And they need to say and stop. That's not on my calendar. I'm not in the same chapter as her right now. I'm on this chapter. I'm going to hang out and she's going to run up ahead of me. I'm going to be in the back. We're both getting sweaty. We're both feeling good, cleaning our mind, our body, and showing up for ourselves. And knowing that it's enough. It's enough because it's what I need right now. So I can get to where I want to be. And if we don't stay with the moment and give ourselves what we need now, we'll never get there. And we won't show up. Running affects everything. If we don't give ourselves the grace and show up now where we are, we won't be able to show up for the kids, for the parent, for whoever you're caregiving for. You won't show up in that right mindset, and that can just affect your running, which affects your life. And it's that vicious cycle. So if we give ourselves grace and just show up where we are and not worry about what everyone else is doing, it's you versus you out there. It'll keep you coming back for more because you'll be consistent with yourself and be strong to run healthy, run strong, and run lifelong. That's where we want to be. We want to be, I would like to think we all want to run strong and healthy, and we have to stay focused with a plan, act on it, execute it properly with the right intensity, show up, wash, rinse, and repeat. And before you know it, we're strong, we're healthy, we're a heck of a lot older, but we're still strong and we're healthy. And we can do it again and again and again.
Avoiding that comparison trap. I don't care what Becky's doing. Like, who's Becky? You
Who's
know,
Becky?
like I don't care how fast Becky's running. I don't care that Becky's out there at every single like local 5K. I don't need to be Becky, right? Focusing on the consistency, focusing on your goals that you talked about before. And I just love these 5 tips, honestly. And if I can kind of recap here, guys. Coach LaToya's 5 tips to keep you motivated, even if you don't have a raise. Number one, develop a strategy, right? Have the proper mindset for your current goals. And we talked about like, what is the focus of this part of your training? Even if it's not a race, right? What's the focus? Number two, having the right running intensity and making sure that you're running your types of runs that are appropriate for this phase, as well as pace. Make sure that you're not focusing on pace, you're not running too fast, and that it is appropriate for this season of your running. Three is you got to be consistent. Consistency is key in life, in running. And we talked about, you shared some great strategies on how to stay consistent, recording it, journaling it, putting on your calendar, putting the X's, put it in the W's, maybe do a poster board so your whole family can see, right? Throw it on the fridge, whatever you need to really get that consistency. Accountability partners, right? Texting a friend, meeting up with a friend. You shared some great tips there for how we stay consistent. And then you talked about tip for kind of keeping the motivation up. Embrace something new, right? Embrace strength training, or embrace the recovery strategies, embrace that yoga class, embrace that new mobility circuit that you always wanted to try, embrace some new fueling that you want to try during your runs. And who cares if your GI system goes awry? Like, at least you tried it. You're not going to know until you try it, right? This is the time period to
Truth.
really start with that. I'll never forget that group run we went on. It was during the winter. And yeah, I
Tacos.
did have Mexican the night before. Oh my goodness, I had the worst cramps ever. It was terrible. I remember all you guys leaving. I'm like, I'm just gonna like walk it in. You guys go. I don't want to ruin your run. Right. Like, I didn't compare myself to you. I didn't compare yourself to Lou or Kat or Becky for that matter.
Phantom Becky, she's at it againg. She's always
Darn it.
out there. She needs a recovery day.
All the
Yeah.
Beckys right now listening to this are like, is he talking about me? Does he know?
No,
Does he
of
know
course
me?
not.
No, we are not talking about you.
No.
And then number 5, give yourself grace. Really have to. Like, other life stuff is happening. Like, you're doing more than literally 95% of the US population, and global for all our international folks, like global population. You're out there. You're doing your thing. Give yourself grace. It doesn't need to be perfect. Absolutely love these. Did I recap it well? Did I miss anything?
You done good. You got them all. Yes, you were good.
Anything you would like to add to that?
Well, I always like to add, I like to
Oh.
talk, but we better wrap it up now, otherwise it's
All
gonna be a
right.
long podcast.
Yes, absolutely. And guys, I mentioned a couple of resources today. The Return to Run blueprint, if you're kind of coming back from injury, or the 6 steps to growing in your running journey, the 6 different buckets. We really talked mindset today. We talked running. We talked strength training. We mentioned recovery. We mentioned fueling. We pretty much mentioned them all except the running race strategy. So if you want to learn more about that, go to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com. You will get our free resources, our Return to Run blueprint, how to grow as a runner. And then if you go to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com/coaching, you can learn more about working with this amazing human here right before me, Coach LaToya,
He's
or
talking
any
about
of the coaches on our team. So if
cool.
LaToya said anything that resonated with you, and you want to learn more on how to stay consistent, and you want Coach LaToya to be your accountability partner, because she keeps you accountable. She's there. She's seeing
We're
like
gonna
what runs are going in Final Surge, or online training platform. She's commenting back to you. She's going to keep you consistent. She's going to keep you accountable. She's going to keep you motivated. So if you want that help for during this quote unquote off season base training time period, when you don't have a race on the calendar, you want to embrace new strength training, we have that all structured out for you, right? Those are the things that you can learn more about by just going to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com/coaching. And then don't forget, guys, January 17th, our group training half marathon program will drop for a week. So don't miss that week to sign up. If you're interested in that, Don't forget to check that out as well. You can go to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com/team. All right. So I think we covered
A lot,
everything
a
that we
lot.
wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for jumping on here on the busy holiday week. Merry Christmas to you and the
Same
fam.
to you. Oh, yeah, same to you.
We already had our little Spark holiday party, so I
We
will not see you
did.
again before the holiday. So enjoy the time with the family. And thank you to those that listen to this, whether you're listening during a run, in the car, watching the video version on the Spark Healthy Runner YouTube channel. Coach LaToya and I appreciate you, and we hope you enjoy your holidays. Enjoy the rest of 2023, and we will definitely see you in the new year.